Sonic X Episode 34. I was so confused by the beginning, already starting out with Sonic being arrested in a gun helicopter, that I literally paused the video to see if I missed an episode. For fuck's sake, why the hell did the camera pan out and not show us how Sonic escaped? That was unacceptable! This is an action series. Why the hell didn't they show us how he escaped? Even Archie did this better because, while he made the same obnoxious mistake, at least we saw a screw near Sonic, and it had already been established that he could go intangible at will. So that's how he escaped. But this is unacceptable! It was so off-putting that this episode immediately started with Sonic being in trouble with the government. And he wonders what they think he did. Isn't it illegal for people to be arrested without being told what they did wrong? Then we see a kid being enthusiastic that Chris knows Sonic and asking what he's like. It was sweet of Chris to say Sonic was really nice, but it's also weird since Sonic spent barely any time with him and went out of his way to distance himself from his friends. The President Lampshade said the crime doesn't sound like Sonic, and actually, Sam figures out that he's been wrongly accused, but sadly the President tells him to just drop it. I thought Sam was Sonic's rival. I guess even he has standards. I guess that's why we'll see Hector later. We see a stadium with fire painted on it, an alarm goes off, and Shadow is surrounded by flying robots who get a close-up view of him. Shouldn't it be obvious to everyone that he's not Sonic? He then blows up all the robots by standing still and moving his hands. I hate that people bitch about him being overpowered in the show like it's a bad thing. He's the ultimate life form! Also, it gives me some nostalgic memories of how Knuckles used to be overpowered in Archie. I say this as a good thing because I much prefer Archie over this. And this is much more acceptable because Shadow's supposed to be the ultimate life form, and it was never firmly established what limits he had. He's not constrained to the element of wind like Sonic. It would be weird if the ultimate life form was mostly just he had all the same abilities as Sonic, except he can Chaos Spear and Chaos Blast and use Chaos Control, which even Sonic can do. At least it's more justified that people think it's Sonic here because the Mobians are all a few specific people that got sent here from an alien planet in one day, and the only reason any Mobians are on Earth is because of a free Chaos Control accident. So it's impossible to them that a new Hedgehog could come there. Somehow, Chuck thinks it was Sonic on the security tape, but he backtracks when literally all of the people in the mansion side with Sonic. I wish the people in Fleetway were this smart and genre savvy. Instead, literally everyone but Tails bought that Sonic tried to take over the world in just seconds. Here, it's not so easy. The President's aide is already against Sonic, totally buying that he's trying to steal government secrets, but fortunately the other homeless bums don't agree with him. Again, it's sad when Sonic X does something better than Fleetway did. We don't have everyone turning on Sonic just because the government somehow thought Shadow was Sonic. It'd be much more understandable if Dark Sonic already revealed itself in this continuity and everyone knew about it. If people thought Sonic could have an evil super form, then it makes sense that they'd think Shadow is a dark super form of Sonic. I mean, Secret Rings had an evil super form of Sonic. Or he looked evil, at least. Scarlet's not told about Project Shadow, but then she's told by a gullible idiot that Sonic's turned on the world. This is so stupid. Shadow clearly has chest hair! They're not explaining this when it'd be pretty easy to explain why they think he's Sonic. He should have gone dark super form before the SA2 adaptation. Then it makes sense. Sonic dodges all the lasers of the first boss of SA2 at super speed, spin dashes between the two missile shooters saying that was a close squeeze, and runs up a building somehow to avoid missiles, and makes the missiles blow up the robot, which is a much more interesting fight scene than how it was in the game. It's way more creative than him just jumping into him. He still beat it one hit, but not with a spin dash, so it's not bullshit feeling. Why is Shadow happy to meet Sonic face to face? And Sonic calls him an imposter, which is a more accurate translation than faker. As I expected, the ripoff of the Shadow introduction scenes were completely lame because they didn't have the cool theme song for Shadow with the dramatic silence right before it, or the camera panning around him with dramatic music, like when he first introduced himself to Eggman. Seriously, it's lame when an anime has much worse presentation than the cutscenes of a video game, which have presentation like a movie. At least the show cut out the filler for once by not bothering to recreate him meeting Eggman, as it seems, because they knew they couldn't ever make a more badass introduction than the game. Chris is told by Chuck that Sonic was spotted somewhere, and he and Chuck go after him. You'd think it'd be obvious that Sonic would be long gone by the time they would go there. It turns out Sonic and Shadow are having a race with lazy anime backgrounds behind them, so you can't get invested. At least this is making Shadow entertaining instead of boring serious for once, because he wants to challenge himself and he's cocky. I miss this Shadow. Eggman sees Sonic and Shadow in camera footage, and for fuck's sake, they really are going to try to show us how Shadow met Eggman, which really sucks because obviously they aren't capable of making an introduction scene as badass as in the original game. No dramatic music and no epic slow camera panning around Shadow. He's not even standing at a higher position than him. It's just, oh, it's no big deal. I'm just talking to him to choose himself. He just beats a big robot by punching it. We don't even see a real action scene. He just punches it, and it cuts away. It's laziness like this that makes the show feel low budget. Chuck and Chris see Shadow teleport a short distance away from Sonic and then warp away. It makes sense that Sonic's panicking in his thoughts about him being able to cause Chaos Control so easily, because the Chaos Control Spear was why he came to Earth, so it's a much bigger deal here. We actually see Shadow get a huge amount of punches on Sonic. Finally! Sonic tells Shadow not to underestimate us normal types. That was lame. They made me think of Pokemon. Sonic gets surrounded by helicopters and put in the spotlight, and Chris tells him that since he's already in trouble, he's better off doing what they say, as if that's gonna help. But he's going to go break out of Prison Island anyways. But he agrees to go to the island because Prison Island's where Eggman's going to go next. Well, to be fair, he probably is thinking that Chuck will get in trouble if he gets caught flying a plane for him to get to Prison Island. Chris naturally sheds tears at seeing Sonic get arrested, as I wonder why the hell. Oh right, since Eggman deleted the file on Project Shadow on the government, and the government didn't know its password, that's why they didn't know about Shadow already. That fills in a plot hole. But it's really lame how the scene where Shadow tells Eggman he could rule the world with the emeralds is handled. There's no cool dramatic music and panning around the Eclipse cannon. It's in the pyramid, so it's so humdrum. And then Rouge calls him with Skype, and then goes up to him with roses. How can anyone say the SA2's cutscene presentation was shit when its camera work and atmospheric music was so much better than an officially produced anime could ever be? It's sad when a video game made like 20 years ago has much more engaging movie-like presentation for its story than a TV show handling the same story. This was just boring. Characters talk to each other. The end. Chris and Chuck look ridiculous with the black masks and hats. And Tails and Amy go in the plane to get to Prison Island, with Tails fortunately lampshading that Amy's being bossy, showing a spine with her for once. It fills in a plot hole because we see that Amy got to Prison Island by riding on Tails' tornado. Too bad that wasn't the case in the game. At least the tornado being the lame-looking X-Tornado is the show clinging on to at least some originality. It's just that I was really shocked we never got to see the Tornado 2 in either adventure adaptation. And again, it's awesome that Tails and Amy still have faith in Sonic. But at least it was kind of justified that Amy lost faith in Fleetway because she was literally knocked out twice by a robot who looked just like Sonic. Here, Sonic didn't do anything to them. So this was the beginning of SA2, but much more boring. Sonic gets framed by Shadow and arrested by the government because the government's data on Project Shadow is never accessible to them to begin with, so why they kept it, I'll never know. And Sonic's the only hedgehog that's expected to be trapped on this planet, so it'd be weirder for them to assume that another hedgehog came to this planet when they needed a Chaos Control accident to come there the last time. It was cool that Sonic ran up a building somehow and defeated the first boss with its own missiles. For once it was justified that he won in one attack. And really it was multiple hits since there were plenty of missiles. It was entertaining that Shadow wanted to race Sonic, at least, even if it was really boring to see with a worthless background. Who wants to look at anime backgrounds? Seriously! That's not interesting to look at, that's not keeping me invested. That's a comic book. I hope nobody actually likes these backgrounds. And as I expected, the scenes where Shadow introduced himself and told Eggman he could conquer the world with the emeralds were extremely lame and unengaging compared to SA2. Where the camera was panning around and dramatic music was playing. Here it's just, Characters stand around and talk with one static camera angle, like in Boom Shatter Crystal. Sure, the animations of the characters aren't mocap by humans, but I don't care about that! When everything else about the presentation is boring and lazy. One of the things that saves the story is that in a plot where Sonic's being framed for crimes by Shadow, barely any of his friends turn on him and buy that he went evil. They all assume he's still a good guy. Literally everyone in the mansion tells off Chuck for doubting him. This is how you do it. Too bad Scarlet and Stuart seemed to buy it, which ruined their subplots. They barely even did anything anyways. Oh, and it was cool that Shadow blew up robots by waving his hands. They're actually trying to emphasize that he's the ultimate life form. He's supposed to be badass. That's literally the entire purpose of his character. And any true Shadow fan would understand that. And I'm speaking as someone who's not even a big Shadow fan. I find him boring. The only reason the games didn't make him this powerful was because you were playing as him. And if the story did its job right with making him as powerful as you'd expect of an ultimate life form who can freeze time and teleport everywhere, you'd just be wondering why the character you're playing as can't do all that stuff. Shadow likes a challenge, so that justifies why he's not just killing Sonic. And he's a villain, so he's not a storybreaker character with his powers yet. When he's a hero, his logic will fall apart because the biggest plot hole with Shadow is that he doesn't just Chaos Control straight to Eggman and arrest him. Shadow could take down Eggman by himself, and somehow he doesn't, and that ruins his credibility if you realize that. But at least it took years for me to come to that conclusion, so they hide it well. But the point is, Shadow works better as a villain who's having fun with Sonic, because when he's a hero against Eggman, he just looks like an incompetent idiot, because if he's using his powers for good, he just uses powers to teleport Eggman to a prison.